right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host, Brian Forbes, and this is The Black Factor, where perspective is everything, and I got the news that you can use, not that other stuff. I got the stuff that we talk about. Why? Because this is The Black Factor. Makes sense, right? You know, they got that other stuff that's made up for the rest of them folks, but, sometimes we just have to get things with a little bit different perspective. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to put some perspective on all of this madness that's going on today, as if we didn't know that things could get even more weird than they already been. And they just keep getting stranger by the day. And y'all know, whenever the strange stuff starts happening, I'm real quick to let you know it's all about the Twilight Zone. And sometimes I feel like that's where we are. I don't know about y'all, but it's feeling like the Twilight Zone to me. So, needless to say, I'm sure you know by now, and if you don't, you're going to find out today that y'all's man, Cheeto Jesus, the commander in thief, or should I say liar in chief, one of those, today he got impeached yet again. I don't know what part of the game that man needs to figure out, but, it's getting kind of hectic. I don't know what he gonna do or what he needs to do, but he need to figure it out, and he need to figure it out pretty doggone fast, because things are way out of hand. Now, when I think about the people that have been attacking this country, it reminds me of a quote by Voltaire. And it says, those who can make you believe atrocities can make you, those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. So that kind of reminds us all of, we all had that one friend back in the day that had us doing something real stupid that we didn't have no business doing, simply because we just, we believed the stupid stuff that they said. And so in believing the stupid things that we said, we acted accordingly, unfortunately. But today, Donald Trump, of course, once again made history. He became the very first president in the history of these United States to become impeached twice. That reminds me of that, y'all heard that Cat Williams? How do you mess up? You only had one thing and you couldn't get that right. I ain't gonna say what he said, but y'all know me. I could, but I ain't gonna do it. But what I find most interesting about all of this is that the Republican Party continues to say that this is no way for us to heal our country by impeaching this soon-to-be-gone president. But, I believe, symbolically speaking, I think it was very necessary. Forget the technical issues about why. But what bothers me even more is that if they don't believe that this is the way to heal the country, what took them so long, or why haven't they delivered that very same message to Donald Trump himself? At what point do you stop harboring a fugitive and basically allowing him to continue doing the things that he's been doing and creating as many problems as he's created throughout his entire 4 years in office? I think it's just a bit ridiculous, but who am I? What am I going to do? So tonight, y'all, we got a real special show. Tonight, we're going to be doing, we're going to have a panel discussion, and we're going to have some guests on, and we're going to discuss the events of the day. So I think you're going to really enjoy that, so get ready for it. Big Nate is in the building. I see you. Thank you, Val, for checking in. My regular Facebook family, I see y'all. WB Reese is in the building. BB Richard. Talena, hey, how you doing, girl? We ain't seen you in a while. Where you been? Riri in the building, all the way out of Houston. Look, y'all, We're going to talk about this thing tonight. We're going to get it. We're going to get some stuff laid out. We're going to get some different perspectives, some opinions, and we're going to see what we can make out of all of this. Because I'll be honest with you, in light of recent events, I'm getting a bit confused. Donald Trump made a statement this evening. Well, we know he's going to make a statement because he's cut off from social media now. Well, he made a statement this evening that sounded almost presidential. But the only thing that was missing was any type of culpability. He decided not to do any type of apologies. He didn't want to admit that he had been wrong. He didn't clear up any of the lies that he had been telling, and he continues to make people believe that somehow he managed to win this election, which we all know is a ridiculous notion. But, you know, the Republican Party chooses to gaslight. They're gaslighting them, us. He's gaslighting us. And now you got a bunch of maniacs running around who all are ready to attack every state house in the entire country. Something wrong with this picture. And he went on there to say that he doesn't condone the violence and everybody who committed crimes last week will be brought to justice, which I find even more funny because he can't reach out to them on social media and give any kind of a different message. But the funny part is, I'm sure these people are so dumb, you know, they're confused. Like, oh, well, what do we do now? Do we attack? Do we not attack? They got to be confused because they stupid enough to believe the lies in the first place. So, man, what are you going to do? Well, let me begin to introduce my panel for the night. We're going to have some fun, y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, the panel for tonight, I have some wonderful people that'll be joining us. And on my right, I have Miss Angela Coco Hardenett. Now, Angie is the Jamaican with 100 jobs. She do it all. Hustler extraordinaire. And we have Miss Tanea Foster, wife and mother, but she's also a diversity and inclusion trainer. So I'm not sure what that means, but I'm sure you're going to tell us, right, Tanea? Right, okay. And then we got Mr. Dennis McCullum, investor, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and my tired ass cousin. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get this thing kicked off. How y'all doing this evening?
Good.
All right.
I want to thank everybody for joining in for this conversation because we're going to have a little fun with it. Now, first, Tanea, give me your thoughts on today's events in regard to what you thought about this impeachment. How do you feel about that?
Well, how do I feel? I feel disappointed because it went exactly like I thought it would go.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was hoping that some of these folks would wake up and go, wow, insurrectionists are bad and treason is bad. And, you know, we're not going to put party over country. And I was wrong. They did that, and that's what they do. So I'm disappointed, but not surprised.
Okay. So, you know, I think that a lot of people, we all kind of knew how it was going to play out, but especially since we know that the Democrats have the control of the House. I think that's, that was kind of a given. Although, now let's keep in mind that for the first time in history, here's another history fact, this was the most bipartisan impeachment in the history of the United States. There have never been as many opposite side people to go along and agree with this. I think the last time there was a possibility of that was Nixon, but Nixon's people got rid of him, or he had enough sense to know it was time to move around, and he got on down. But this is the first time in history that we've ever had an impeachment where there was a bipartisan, to this degree, agreement that it needed to happen. And so now it's going to the Senate. And apparently Mitch McConnell is not going to block this one the way he did the last one. So that means with a majority Senate that we're about to have, not much of a majority, we got Kamala Harris is going to be the tiebreaker. But I think they have to have, is it a 2/3 vote in order for it to pass. But I believe that there are enough Republicans that are on board, and I think Mitch McConnell got enough power to make that happen. So I think that he is scared, and that's probably why we saw that statement today that he made. But here's what I want to know. And I heard this, and I think you all watched the process today, correct?
Yes.
Okay. During that process, I heard a lot of whataboutism. Now, I want to know what you all think about that particular line of thinking, because I'm going to tell you my initial thoughts, and you can tell me what you think about it. But I believe that they went out of their way to try and connect the events of the year, over the summer, where there was a lot of rioting, looting, protesting, that got confused. Now we did a show where we talked about the difference between all of those things, but I think that for them to try and make the false equivalency of people fighting for justice and for equality over people trying to take down our government over a lie is a stretch. Now, Dennis, can you tell me what your thoughts on that is?
Clan don't harm clan.
Ooh.
And I think that that those were specific instances where you had shootings and police brutality, uprisings, as opposed to the government takeover, a coup,
Mm-hmm.
which is more serious, which is on another level. And I think that they should have impeached him the first time, all the way out. I think we didn't have to get this far.
I wonder, I was thinking to myself today, I wonder if Mitch McConnell thought to himself he should have impeached him the first time. That thought did cross my mind. So, Coco, what do you think should be ultimately, what would you like to see, or what do you think should be the ultimate final story where this is all concerned?
Well, I think personally they should have invoked the 14th Amendment from the beginning and removed him from the chair.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't be in this spot if they'd have just went ahead and did that right away.
Mm-hmm.
When you said something earlier about harboring a fugitive, the Republican Party is harboring a fugitive.
Yeah.
There's no refuting that. Whenever they have to use words like sedition and insurrection and rebellion and treason, I don't see the reason for a discussion.
Yeah, that's
But
agreed.
yeah, but in the long run, he won't be removed before the 20th of January. It's going to be a long, drawn out court process. And in the meantime, all we can hope is that they get some type of hold on him once he's removed, to silence him a little bit and let the chips fall where they may. My biggest concern is him leaving the office and still having the benefits of holding the office.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't deserve it. Not one bit, in my opinion.
I agree with that. Well, a lot of I noticed that a lot of the Republicans in the House today decided or made it, they seem to be following a common theme where they talked about that there were no hearings or any kind of an investigation that would warrant them being able to move forward with with this impeachment. What do you think about that, Tania? Tell us how you feel about them just making excuses and reaching as far back as a year or more to try and compare this to what happened a week ago.
Well, I mean, it's what they do, right? I mean, it's a whole lot of conflation and confusion. And I think for people who aren't really paying attention, it works. But for those of us who are, it's offensive, it's duplicitous. To your point before when you said, this is the most bipartisan agreement. I mean, it was 10 Republicans on a vote of treason.
What does that tell you about our history?
Right. But I'm like, that's not impressive to me.
Not at all.
And so it's not surprising that they would do that. I think what I'm most surprised about is how fervent they were in going back and really kind of forgetting about what happened last Wednesday and going really hard on this. But what about, but you guys did this, unity, compassion. I mean, they just went really hard, like they weren't in the room when all this stuff happened. So I was like, wow.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was a bit of a stretch. Coco, you wanna pick up on that?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like Miss Tania said, they were in the room when all of this happened. They were the ones that had to be ushered out by the Secret Service and thrown on the floor to made hide under chairs and tables. But they still are scapegoating and saying everything about the truth about what happened. It's unbelievable to me, but it's not surprising.
Well,
And more will
now
come out about who was all involved. And I think some of them congressmen and senators were in the setup process for planning this. Because
yeah,
I saw where the panic buttons or something like that were taken out of all the senators' rooms where they could hit a
Oh,
button and call security.
yeah,
And
I got wind of that today. Yeah.
yeah,
whoa.
Well, basically, what it's turning out to be, it looks like this was an inside job. Like there were more people involved in this who knew what was going on than we're finding out. Which goes back to the point of some of those congressmen saying that there were not hadn't been any investigation or any kind of they don't know exactly what all is going on or who all is involved. But I'll tell you what, based on the U.S. Attorney's statement yesterday. He said that people are going to be very shocked when they find out what's really going on. And I think some of the people that have been involved have begun snitching. That's what I think is happening. I think there's going to be a lot of heads rolling behind this. But there have been a lot of social media posts and news stories and we've seen them ourselves, all on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and everywhere else, where these people were literally saying to the cameras that Donald Trump told them to come here. Donald Trump told them to come here and fight and do all of this. I don't know what evidence they need. The same as the guy who was walking out of there with Nancy Pelosi's lectern, and he's got a defense team now, and they're saying that, well, he's not that guy. Well, what is this picture showing us? Here's a guy that literally stole a piece of equipment inside the Capitol, and they're saying that he's not that guy. Well, what do you expect us to believe? I'm sorry.
And was dumb enough to steal federal mail.
Now that right there is going to get him some time. Yeah, he's definitely going to have a problem behind that one, because I think, and it just shows you the level of education. And we do remember that Donald Trump said that he loves the uneducated, and he has a bunch of them following him. So here we are. And
But
so
he also has a lot of smart, very smart, scholarly people helping him too. You have Stanford attorneys and Yale, Harvard attorneys who intellectually know better, but they're willing to play the game. So,
but do you think they're helping him, or do you think they're helping themselves? That's the question. See, I think they're on a power mission. I think they're using what he's doing as a sort of a back door. They're riding on his coattail to get their name heard and get seen and to become popular. That's just my opinion.
gain fame. Is that what they're doing it for?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, look at Ted Cruz. Now, for what here's a guy who Donald Trump disrespected in ways publicly that most men would be ready to fight over.
Drug through the mud.
Talked about his wife. I mean, like a dog, Then he turns around and all of a sudden now he's best buddies with Ted Cruz. And then Ted Cruz turns around. It's like he don't know what side of the fence he wants to be on. And it's almost ridiculous. It's like, I guess they think they can do these things and they're going to pretend like nobody saw it. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Yeah. So what I think bothers me the most about a lot of this is that a lot of these people are acting like Donald Trump is a victim. They're acting like these people who ransacked the Capitol are victims. How can they possibly make that assertion? Now, tell me what you think, Dennis, about because this word keeps popping up, radicalization. We have a radicalized political party. And my contention is that they are really no different or not much different than Al Qaeda or ISIL. What do you think about that?
True, it's just internal. It's just they just I don't know why they don't appreciate the fruits of their labor here, and they talk about people outside of the country when you right here enjoying all of this, and now you want to flip it upside down and have this power struggle. That's how you become radicalized. Is you think you're better than.
Yeah, so I mean, like when because when you look at it, to me, I mean, this is exactly the very thing that gets talked about and has been talked about in the news over the years, where we watch people get sucked into radicalization in the Middle East. Yet here we are watching it take place right here in our own laps. Now, here, speaking of that very thing, that radicalization and that nonsense. So there's a guy by the name of Ali Alexander who I just became aware of. Apparently, he is the darling of the Republican radicalized party. And he happens to have, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his whole name, but it begins with Ali and it ends with Akbar or something like that. Now, I just need one of y'all help me out. Explain to me how this guy who looks Middle Eastern, potentially Indian, dark as me, has an extremely radical message, and he has managed to entangle himself with 3 congressmen, 2 from Arizona and 1 from Missouri, to plan the Stop the Steal. He is the creator of the Stop the Steal movement. Somebody explain to me how white supremacist groups, white nationalist groups, groups who can't stand immigrants, groups who backed Donald Trump when he wanted to block all Muslims from coming into the country. Now, I'm not saying the guy's Muslim. I don't know what his religious background is, but he collaborates with Nazi groups and everything else. What happened? Anybody?
They
Anybody?
got
No.
capitalized.
I'm sorry, Angela, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know what happened, but it is a fascinating like psychology study, because when I saw him, I thought he was Indian too. And that put me in the mindset of, I think his name is Dinesh D'Souza, something like that. He's an Indian right wing type of guy. I mean, you have the Proud Boys, one of the founders, I think, who's married to a black woman. So I don't know if these people, they just fit. I don't know, but there's a lot of Latin people that I'm seeing who are also just, I'm like, as much as President Trump has bashed the Latino culture, they are all in hard racism. So I don't know how they got in the club. I don't know why they're happy to be in the club, but it is a symbiotic relationship that works.
It's pretty amazing. It is pretty
It
amazing.
makes no sense.
Yeah,
None whatsoever.
Well, I mean, most of this doesn't make sense. Now I've spoken with few people, and I've seen on social media. I put up a post last night about it, and I got a lot of responses where people said he's a scapegoat. Dennis, what do you think about that?
So,
Huh?
for what?
Speak up a little bit. They're saying that he's a scapegoat because he's a guy with black skin, and they're going to use him as the fall guy. That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah, I thought.
Oh man, they're gonna be tricked, because they're getting led into it knowingly, that they knew who he was, or they should have vetted him, and they found out too late that he actually sucked them in.
That's what I
believing who
think.
he
Now,
was.
one of the congressmen from Arizona claims he doesn't
deny
know him. He's denying he know. He said he don't know him at all. He's playing like he's just straight gaslighting, playing dumb. I don't even know what you're talking about. But they have emails.
I was gonna say the
and
emails will pop up.
yeah, they have emails and they have correspondences, Twitter, and a bunch of more stuff that connects them together. But now, what's even more amazing, after I did a little digging, apparently this guy has a criminal record, credit card fraud, auto theft, and a couple other things. And this is the guy that they followed into battle. This is the guy who, with 3 sitting congressmen, organized the Stop the Steal movement. The lie that they've based all of this on. The fact that Donald Trump won't even go to these people and say, okay, look, y'all, I lied. You know, it is what it is. We lost. Let's move on.
Yeah, enough is enough.
You know, right. When is enough? You know, so my mouth is still open where this guy is concerned, because I'm just really, now I'm going to tell you the other angle. Here's the other thing that I got to thinking. And I know might be a stretch. It might not. This country has been at war with people from the Middle East for a very long time. Why couldn't this guy be a plant to disrupt democracy? What would stop him from being this guy that jumps into the fray, gets everybody's trust, and topples or attempts to topple the democracy that we've been fighting for 200 years? Well, I ain't gonna say all of us, but has being fought over, because you know us black folks ain't had nothing to do with that when it came to pass. But that democracy that's been trying to be maintained for this amount of time. Do you know that there are countries literally sitting back with their popcorn, just watching and waiting and laughing their ass off because we've been pushing democracy
right now?
We've been pushing democracy on other countries for a century. So
isn't it consequential that the 2 leaders are both kind of like black? The leader of the Proud Boys and the leader of this Still the Show? Still the
Vote.
Yeah, stop the steal.
Oh,
Yeah,
Stop the Steal.
yeah. It gets really interesting, and that is why again, I'm going to be very interested to see what comes out of this. Now, even today, we know Donald Trump. If you can always tell when he's lying because his mouth is moving, but even he said today that he was going to make sure that everybody involved in breaching the Capitol last week is going to pay. They're going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I find that interesting. Him. And it's not including him. But what I find even more interesting is that he won't even be in a position for any of that to matter one way or the other. In 7 days, he's done. So I guess he already knows they're going to get it.
In the back of his mind, the same people he can prosecute, he thinks he can, what's the word?
Pardon?
Yeah, pardon, yes.
Well, he's not probably going to get that opportunity because the thing about it, he can pardon for federal charges, but he can't pardon for state charges. So if any of these people, if the state of Washington or D.C., strange situation there, decides, because the D.C. attorney has already talked about bringing charges to Donald Trump. He cannot pardon himself out of those charges, and neither can he pardon anybody that gets picked up by them for any of the crimes committed there. So it's going to be real interesting because there's been a jurisdictional battle in D.C. for a very long time anyway.
Yeah.
So that should get
civil suits from them 5 deaths.
Yeah, well, they're talking about murder charges on several people, and I think there's going to be a few folks that's going to get put away for quite some time, and they're not going to see the light of day. How about the guy, the one with the horns and the bullwinkle hat on? Well,
who needs an organic diet?
Yep, he's got an organic diet, and he's mad because he's locked up and nobody. They won't feed him organic food, so he's not eating. Oh, boo-hoo. Who's the snowflake now? Imagine that.
When
Well,
was bologna ever organic?
but you know, a judge granted him.
Give him them more organic choke sandwiches. He'd be all right. Yeah.
A judge granted him the right to have that organic food yesterday.
Is that
So
right? Lucky
while I
him.
was hoping he would go on a hunger strike, that's been preempted by the court. So he gets to have his shaman diet.
Yeah, well, whatever. Um, I think here, and this is where I really want to kind of get into this, right? Now, y'all tell me what you think. I'm offended, okay, as a black man, because the idea that you can make the false equivalency of the things that took place over the last year in regard to the death of George Floyd and all of the other atrocities that have taken place on unarmed black people in America. And the people took to the streets and protested for equal justice and to be treated like human beings. But now we have a bunch of Republicans sitting there attempting to make the violence at the Capitol appear to be the same as the violence that took place, which there was property damage, true enough. There were other things. But we're not talking about somebody that's literally trying to take over the democracy of America. Those are completely two different things. And I think that for 147 white members of Congress, headed by Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz, to stand up there and want to eliminate the vote of what essentially amounted to black people in America. We don't want their votes. We talking about Detroit from Michigan. We talking about Arizona. We're talking about Georgia especially. We're talking about all of the places where these votes came out of were black cities. And they literally wanted to throw those out. What do y'all, I mean, is it just me? But Coco, how do you feel about that?
No, it's disheartening, and it's quite sickening. I mean, to have gone through all that they went through the Black Lives Matter protests and all that craziness, and they were quick to say, you know, our votes don't matter, our votes don't count. But the officials who were reelected, their votes were no problem. They didn't question their reelection.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
In the same cities. It's I don't know. It's embarrassing to me, and I take it really personal. Being a government employee, I take it really personal because we all took an oath, you know, and to see it fan out the way it did today, and then for them, Republican officials to make excuses and compare it to something that wasn't even in the same line of questioning. It's just embarrassing to me. And I think we're an embarrassment around the world.
Yeah. Well,
can I add on to that?
Please, Brian? Go ahead.
I mean, I totally agree with what Angela said, but I think like the people who are trying to make this false equivalence, they've never recognized or honored the reason why people are protesting from the start. So even when all this was happening, they never said, oh yes, they didn't care about police brutality. They just saw people protesting, primarily at some point black, then it migrated to white, but they saw Black Lives Matter and things being broken. And that was all they saw. Black Lives Matter, broken things. So now they're trying to say white lives matter, broken things. It's the same thing. I mean,
well, you know, these insurrectionists, terrorists. What'd you say, Dennis? Go ahead. You lost. We losing your volume there. Check your thing. We having a technical with you over there. You want to check your microphone and everything. See if you straight over there. You know, my thing is, I think a lot of these guys, these terrorists, these insurrectionists. I think they've been watching too many Civil War movies. I think they think this is going to turn out like it did when the Civil War started before. What I think they forget is that, number one, just because normal Americans don't walk around with ARs strapped to their back and walk up and down the street and stick their chest out, I think they have all the power. I think they think that there are people like us on this panel and the people who watch this show are not prepared for these type of things. I think they think that they're going to be able to just walk in, raise a whole bunch of hell, and everybody's going to be all right. Well, number one, they have to fight those soldiers who have taken an oath to the Constitution to begin with. That's the first thing. Understand that the United States government, they got drones, they got facial recognition software, they got all kinds of things. They can reach out and touch your ass whenever they feel like it. That's number one. And a lot of these guys, I think, are finding that out. When we did our show Monday, I showed a bunch of the insurgents who basically shaved their faces and everything else because they felt like they would be able to get away with not being recognized. But it's not working. They're getting pulled up at every turn. They're getting snatched up like weeds. And their time is coming. In fact, there's someone who I think locally is might be hiding out a little bit. This guy we just talked about, Ali Alexander, he's underground right now. He's hiding. They gonna catch him. He's not gonna be able to hide, not for long. And once they do, they're gonna deal with him, and he's going to jail. They're gonna, if it was anybody they was ever gonna make an example out of, it's him. So, but I'm tired of the whataboutism. I'm tired of them thinking that because they went and desecrated the Capitol, because other people were in the streets over the summer fighting for a cause, they think that this lie is an actual cause, and they think that it's okay for them to continue doing the damage. I don't know.
But somebody said, I don't know if it was Matt Gaetz, one of those lunatics, they said something about, well, what about the hashtags being mean to Donald Trump?
Huh.
You know, I mean, it was just like stupid stuff, real petty stuff, like really tweets and hashtags and women's marches. That's abuse to the president.
Well,
Any excuse.
Any excuse will do.
but Donald Trump is the quintessential bully. I don't understand what part of this story, or when does somebody finally just say, yeah, dude is a bully. His own wife is supposed to have this bully campaign, and she lives with the biggest bully in the world right now. Lays down next to this dude every day while he goes around and talks about other people, calls them names, and acts a stone cold fool, but she wants to tell everybody else about being a bully. That just goes so far over my head. It's like I said, it's like the Twilight Zone. I can't hear you, Dennis.
Oh, okay.
So we haven't been able to figure out what that's about. But you know, he reminds me, and there is something about people like him that I've always had a problem with. When I was growing up, bullies got dealt with on the playground when I was coming up. You know, you can run around for a little while. You knew which kids to test, but you weren't going to test everybody because you're going to get hit in your mouth. It was always going to be that one kid that don't bother nobody that you're going to decide to bully one day, and he's going to knock all your teeth out. And I just personally think nobody's ever knocked Donald Trump's teeth out. I think he's gotten away with so much for so long that he continues to believe that he can do and say whatever he wants, and there's never going to be any consequences. And that is his entire problem. He's never had consequences.
There's a difference between a regular old bully and a bully with financial backing.
Now, I guess I have to agree with that. Yeah, I have to agree with that. So, and you know, here's a funny thing. Right now, and after this vote today for this impeachment, it turns out that there are lots of people who are requesting that Liz Cheney resign because she was one of the number one most outspoken Republicans against Donald Trump and for this impeachment. And I think that I really, what part of what happened last Wednesday was wrong are people missing? Anybody?
Well, I think there's a portion of them that understand what he did was wrong. They just don't think he should see consequences. And then there's a smaller group that thinks he did wrong, who should see, and he should see consequences, and they're going to be pushed out. And then there's the rest of them. So, I mean, I think it's like a quarter of somewhat sane, and the rest are just all
Yeah.
nuts.
I think that they all see and know the wrong, but pardon for lack of a better word, they're all trying to save their asses for the upcoming future.
Yeah, but I mean, they seem to be riding this train all the way off the tracks to the point of how do you recover from some of the nonsense that's been going on? How do you come back from making certain statements and doing things? I don't know. I'm just.
And what's the fear? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Angela.
What is the fear? Exactly.
Is it
It's
the
like
fear
he
not?
has something. It's like he has something over all of them. Which
That's
I wouldn't
exactly what it feels
like.
It feels exactly like that. Huh. Now it makes you wonder if he didn't just set a bunch of people up, or because you got to remember before Donald Trump became president, he was a party dude. He was the hangout guy. All the rappers had him in all the videos and everything. He was the cool dude,
And he put a lot of money in their campaigns.
Yeah, Mr. Art of the Deal, But I think also that a lot of the Republicans are beginning to find out because of there's been so many companies that are pulling back and pulling away from Trump and anybody that's involved with any of this, because I'm happy to say, and then when he gave his speech this evening, he made it his business to mention the silence culture, the silent, where they're trying to silence people. But like I said on last show, these people they own private companies. They don't have to listen to your rhetoric. They don't have to promote it. They don't have to give you a platform to put it on. If somebody tomorrow decided they didn't like something that I'm saying, they literally can shut me out. And it's just as simple as that. And it just shows you where the real power lies. And at the end of the day, it's one thing to have an opinion. It's one thing to have your politics and your ideas. It's another thing to spout hate and use a platform to get people killed. That's a completely different animal. And I don't know what part of that they don't understand. So.
They were listening they listed about 30 corporations that were going to allow that money to the Republican Party.
Something like that.
You all built this monster. Now you want to back out of it and say, hands up, yeah. But you all made this possible.
Mm-hmm.
So why not?
Yeah. Well, apparently, there's a couple of companies, the city of New York actually made a statement that they are canceling any contracts dealing with him or any of his people. And I believe that there was Forbes magazine made a statement yesterday that the day before yesterday, any Kayleigh McEnany or any of the press secretaries that Donald Trump has had, if they go to work for any companies, they're going to automatically assume that those companies are full of liars and they're not going to support them in any way. So they are upset that the world doesn't want to hear the nonsense. And some people actually do have common sense. So what is next, y'all? So Coco, tell us what you'd like to see moving forward.
Well, I'd like to see Congress. I would love to see Congress come back early and get to business, but they've already said that it won't be until after after Biden takes office. But God, I wish they would just hurry it up, because even though it's only a few days left, he could do a lot of damage in a few days.
And that is what I think everybody's afraid of.
Telephone and computer.
Say that one more time, Dennis.
Why can't they do the telephone and computers and like we know?
Well, I think, for example, That, and in fact, that has been pointed out on multiple occasions. Just because he doesn't have the ability to tweet or use social media anymore, he does have a press room and he can walk in there at any time and make any kind of a statement that he wants to make. But he refuses to use that. And I think that the tape that he did today was pre-recorded. So it just shows you how much of a coward he really is. He's one of them keyboard commandos.
Why can't the senators vote tomorrow? Why do they have to reconvene? Why can't they vote for wherever they're at?
They can, but McConnell won't do it.
McConnell doesn't want to call him back in. And they made some sort of something they do in the Senate where they say, okay, nobody's coming back here till such and such a date. And it's kind of like a written in stone kind of thing. So,
it's a lot of money in.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're not going to be back until the 19th, the day before the actual inauguration. Now, the thing is this, and this is what I guess we have to be looking out for. As a matter of fact, and I suggest this to everybody, people watch your backs, be very careful out here, because apparently I actually just got a text earlier. Now, I generally do not go for stuff like this because I get tired of the hoaxes and the nonsense that come across social media. But I'm going to read this because I'd rather read this and it be nonsense than to not read it and to have or see something happen to somebody just because this information was not put out here. Now, I'm told by a pretty good friend of mine that he got this from a reliable source, and it was a police officer. And it says, the NAACP has received credible information that some of the white nationalist groups and white supremacist groups have initiations happening this weekend. And that right there is the part that throws me off. Initiations. Come on now. Anyway, I'm going to read it anyway. As part of the initiation, it is said that they will be looking to snatch black men and boys and hang them, shoot them, torture them, and kill them. So please spread the word. Do not let your sons go out alone. Pay attention to your surroundings. If you made friends with someone recently, do not be gullible and naive. They may have another motive. Be cautious. Only travel in pairs, and even then pay attention. If your car is hit by a truck or a van, don't be quick to jump out. Pay attention. Women also be alert. The rumor is that they will seek men, but we know that at some point anyone will do. Be careful, much prayer is needed. And this was from a reliable source. Now, I generally, I hate shit like this, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. I almost hate that kind of stuff as much as I hate conspiracy theories. I need receipts. Now, the thing is this. That could be as fake as it sounds, or it could be real. My personal opinion is that where we are currently in this country, we are not dealing with really a race issue. And this is something that I've tried to get across to a whole lot of black folks before all of this happened. Anybody who follows this show, y'all have heard me say it all year long, all the way up to when this stuff started really boiling over. This will not be a race war. This is a governmental. You got to remember something. A lot of these militia groups and a lot of these so-called white supremacists and white nationalist organizations, they're more anti-government than they are anti-black or anything else. They're white males, just like those in the Congress who did everything in their power to disenfranchise black people from their vote. They want what they want, and they want their power back. Making America great again means giving them the opportunity to have dominion over any and everything and everybody in this country like they once did. Those days are over. Now, I don't believe that there is going to be any pointed focus on black people during this entire situation. Because at the end of the day, they don't see black people as a formidable force to stop them from doing anything. However, liberal white males, they consider to be their equals, are those that they are prepared to fight, which is what you witnessed at the Capitol on last Wednesday, which is what is supposed to be taking place coming up over the next 7 days. They're saying that on the 15th, they're going to begin protesting at capitals around the country. They're saying that they have intentions on, and these are armed protests, by the way. They have every intent on going to the Capitol in Washington and making their voices heard. I'll be honest with you. I think that the majority of them, and when I say the majority, I'm talking the vast majority, will not even think about trying it. Most of them are already on the FBI radar. They probably won't get off the planes good before they're back in hand.
They can't get on the plane.
Yeah. And that's for
And
the
they
ones that can
cry and
actually get
have
on
to
planes. Right. That's for the ones that actually have not made the no-fly list yet. So I'm inclined to believe that while, yes, we still should watch our backs, and I do not discount the information that I just read to you. I believe that it is something that you probably will want to be wary of. I definitely am and have been and will continue to be, because we are in unprecedented times and we don't know what's next. We've seen a lot of things. We've heard a lot of things. Most of these things we've not seen or heard within our lifetimes, and many of these things we've never seen in this country. So we all must be diligent to take care of one another and be careful and watch our own backs, because ain't nobody going to do it for us. Go ahead, Coco.
I don't think
Dennis.
this whole thing is about Biden and Trump and all of that. I think it's about a little black girl from California that they don't want the possibility of something happening to Biden and Kamala being a president for 2 terms or possibly even 10 years if something would happen to Biden.
Wouldn't that be something?
You said that right.
Well,
And I think it's also about a woman by the name of Stacey Abrams, who was able to take Georgia and flip it. And they are like, wow, okay, we didn't expect for them to have this kind of power. And so though it's not about us physically fighting us, they are kind of like, y'all wasn't supposed to let them get this powerful. Right. And so like we're watching them fight each other over what they are allowing people of color to do or not do.
Absolutely.
And they don't want us to do nothing, so they'll kill each other to stop us. I mean, it's like kind of like the Civil War. Like they're fighting over us and we're just watching.
Fighting over us once again. That's exactly what it was about. We were fighting over us before. Now they're fighting over us. They're going to be fighting over us again, because in fact, I fully expect for Stacey Abrams to run for governor in the next term, and I believe that she will get it by a landslide. I don't think she's going to have any problem.
Biden would have gave her an office.
Well, you never know what conversation took place.
I don't think she wanted it.
I don't think she wanted it. I think that she is looking forward to being a powerhouse in her own state. I think that, and she has that ability. She already showed up and showed out, and she's proven that she's worthy of the position and doing what needs to be done in order to make that state a better place. I mean, I lived in Georgia. Hell, Dennis, you did too. You know, we remember when it was all red and that kind of thing, you know. But hey, you know, I think she has the ability to make that happen, and I look forward to that. And basically, the genie is out of the bottle. And the way things are going, I know that they won't be able to put it back, barring anything like what we're witnessing right now, violence and bullying. That's the only way they're going to attempt to do it, because historically, that's the way they've always done everything. That's the way, when they can't get things diplomatically, they resort to violence. But now we have the ability to be equally as violent. So there's that. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all.
Oh, you're right. And to
they want to instill fear.
Exactly.
And to finish answering your earlier question, is what I would like to see happen is, for one, I'd like to see him convicted of treason. That's the first thing. That would be
fitting. That would be very
right.
fitting.
And I need for his lifetime benefits to be taken away. Mm-hmm. And then we're gonna let the chips fall where they may. We all know the best way to hurt somebody is in their pockets, which that's already starting to happen already.
Yeah.
But look, this dude, he's got a lot of lawsuits waiting on him the minute he steps out of that office.
Oh yeah, lawsuits, criminal charges. His lawyer fees are gonna be off the chain. But wait, since we're talking about that, here's another interesting, to me, very funny point. it appears that he has already sought counsel from Dershowitz and Giuliani. Now, is it just
Two
me,
clowns.
or are you insane for bringing on an attorney who helped get you in this mess? Giuliani will be lucky if he's not disbarred by next week.
Oh yeah, it's coming. I believe that.
Alejandro
At first, I was
Aguilar.
sort of like, I'm sorry.
Mm.
I was just,
Alejandro
I didn't
Aguilar.
want to see Giuliani up there because I thought, oh, he's going to get everybody riled up. But I guess that's the best way to really show how crazy a person is to just let them go. Just
Yeah,
let them do what they do.
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, he did this to himself.
Absolutely. Well, I think Giuliani has ruined his legacy. He had a fairly decent legacy with his prosecution of the mob in New York in the 80s and 90s. And then he turns around and he got involved, up to his neck with the 9/11 thing. And he was sort of New York's hero almost for those who
Right.
still liked him. And then he turned around and got himself involved with Donald Trump. And now whatever legacy he had is much
In the
like what I
toilet.
believe the presidential library should be, and that is a big trash can. There should be nothing. It ought to be a dumpster because there's not anything in it that's going to make any sense. I think, and another thing that annoys me is that Donald Trump, I think he thought yesterday that he was making some sort of a metaphoric stand by going to Alamo, Texas. Someone should have told him that the Alamo is in San Antonio, not in Alamo, Texas. So he also went to go talk about this 400 miles of border wall that, in case nobody knows, he did not build. That particular portion of the border wall was already there. All they did was repair it. I've seen that wall myself. Long before Donald Trump ever thought about running for the presidency. I've been up and down the borders of this country myself. And it's so disingenuous, and it's just gaslighting and lies, and I'm just so tired of it. And what I think the part that really leaves me miffed are the people who believe this nonsense. They don't check for themselves. What is that about?
It's crazy. It's like Jim Jones all over again. It's crazy.
Man,
But they're not
Kool-Aid is
drinking the
real.
Kool-Aid, though.
The Kool-Aid is real.
They're drinking something.
Yeah,
The Kool-Aid.
the Kool-Aid is real.
Was he trying to get into Mexico? Was he on the run?
Hey, if he was smart, he just stepped across that border and took off running. Because
What do y'all think about him being on suicide watch?
No, he's
Not
too
him.
He's
egomaniacal.
too vain. He's too
Yeah.
vain.
I
not
think
that
so, too.
guy. Not him. He would never sacrifice himself for anything or anybody. That's just not going to happen. In fact, I expect for him to end up throwing his own children under the bus here before long. He's going to eat his young because that's the kind of person that he is.
Where are the minions? I haven't seen them. Where
Well,
are they hiding?
They can't afford to crack out a turn right now. Donald Trump Jr. is one of the ones who helped incite the riot on last Wednesday. He's been very silent ever since. And in fact, I believe he's going to be facing some charges as well.
Yeah, they already said that.
Yeah. So between him, Eric Kushner, apparently someone was trying to get Donald Trump back on some sort of a social media platform, and he blocked it and was trying to make sure that he did not get on there. Now, that could be for a few different reasons. It could be because he's trying to save Donald Trump from himself, or just that he's like, look, man, stop it. Who knows?
It's a little too late for that.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
way too late.
Oh, he's done a lot of damage. And then one thing that I can honestly say, that when I was growing up, at least we didn't have cameras and social media that left a lasting memory of the stupid shit that we did.
Forever.
Now, there's nothing that you can do to get rid of what is put on the internet. The internet is undefeated. If you put it out there, just know that there's a real good chance that it's going to come right back around and kick you swiftly in your ass. And it's coming.
Can somebody tell me why the Klan used to wear hoods, but none of them people the other day had on hoods to hide their identity? What makes you so stupid that you get on national TV, everybody can see your face, cameras all around the Capitol, and you get identified within days?
Because that Trump juice, they were all drinking that Trump juice,
Yeah.
thinking that they had somebody who was going to watch after him and take care of him.
That's that
and
privilege.
stand up for him.
They were exercising that privilege.
Yeah,
that
they
white
weren't doing
right.
anything wrong. Why would I hide my
To them, they
face?
weren't doing anything wrong. They feel like anything that they do wrong, they believe that Uncle Donald is going to pardon them. That's what they think. And that's why they walked around like that. Now, I'm going to tell you, I watched all of the different videotapes that I could. And what I found really interesting, you know, me and Poppy was sitting there watching these videos. And I told her, I was pointing them out. I said, that's a smart one right there. There's a smart one right there. And these were the people who had on masks, hoodies, and glasses. You couldn't tell who those people were.
Yeah.
You had no idea. But you had the Duck Dynasty there running around with their long beards. And you had the Buffalo Man. You had Bullwinkle running around with the American flag pasted on his face. And hey,
Mr. Camp Auschwitz.
Yeah, Mr. Camp Auschwitz, they felt like they're above the law, that they can't be touched. Well,
This is our government. This is our house.
this is
Right.
that's what they said. And
That's
they
what they
said that
said.
Donald Trump told them to come there and do what they were doing. So I don't know how, like I said, the internet is undefeated. How do you make this all go away? You don't.
They got hotel receipts from everyone where they stayed in the hotel that the night before,
Yep.
plane tickets, they identify all of them. Then when they go back to the airport, they on a no-fly zone and they start crying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now how you gonna walk home to California?
Can't do your
Or
job. I hope you
Hawaii.
not- Right.
Hawaii.
Yeah, you stuck on an island. Imagine that. You got to catch a boat from
Nothing
Hawaii
better
to
than
California just to go anywhere. And then you got to get in a car, a bus or a train because you can't fly. Hope you got enough money
I
for a
wonder how
private
they
jet.
feel about Uncle Donald now.
Exactly. Is he going to pay your way? Is he going to pay your legal fees? Because some of these people are going to have legal fees that are off the chain.
And then they shut down GoFundMe so that they couldn't come on there.
Not just GoFundMe. They shut down several of the pay platforms. In fact, Stripe has stopped taking processing donations for the Republican Party because of what's going on. And a lot of these Republicans are getting hit in their pockets as well. And it's only going to get worse before it gets better for them. And I mean, hey, to each his own. Your ball's that big, knock yourself out. I'm going to sit back and watch. How about that? That's how we're
And
going to do it.
Jaquila Hughes on the feed said, what about the Olympic medalist who went to the Capitol in his jacket?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. I
Oh
saw
yeah,
that guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, that right there
Say,
is going to be fun. Here's a guy who literally just flushed any semblance of a career that he had straight down the toilet.
Millions
That's
down
over,
the drain.
bro. You're
He's gonna
done.
take his medals and everything.
All of that. The Olympic Committee will be to see you, homie. They're going to get you. You ain't got to worry. They don't. That's one thing for sure. They do not play that. So, yeah. And this is, like I say, y'all, here we are. It's 2021. Like I said the other day, 2020 had a baby and named it 2021. Damn it.
can I ask, what's the deal with Jenny Thomas and her contributions to the buses transporting people? Clarence Thomas's wife.
Right.
What? I briefly caught wind of that. Does anyone?
I'm not aware of that story. Coco?
I heard of it. She supposedly scheduled buses for them to ride up to the White House with and hear his rally.
Right. I heard that. Yeah, that's what I heard. I saw a little bit of it yesterday that she sponsored a bunch of buses to carry the
Well, good.
protest.
I hope she does a
Black
little bit
riot.
more of that and creates the conflict of
Capitol.
interest necessary to get her husband kicked off the bench. That would be fantastic.
Oh yeah, that would be
That would
amazing.
be great.
That's
That
what I
would be-
thought. I'm like,
that would
why
be
is
Just tie those
fantastic.
two together, just because what she does affects his job.
Well, that's kind of like if you ever pay attention to Supreme
Yeah.
Court justices, they have a code of conduct. There are certain things that they cannot be connected to, period. You sleeping with a woman, your wife of however many years, while you have decisions to make that affect you're one of the co-equal branches of government. You don't have that luxury. His wife is going to get him in trouble.
Because she kind of plays footsie with some white supremacist groups,
Uh-huh.
and she's
Yeah.
very anti-Black Lives Matter. So I'm like, how does she do all that?
And be in
And
the same
he's
house.
not.
He's sitting on
Yeah.
the bench like that. Yeah.
Yep. And that to me, that's very dangerous. That's
And you
but
can't tell me he's not aware of what she's doing.
Exactly. Exactly. He's another one. But I don't know. It's
And
just,
she's anti-Black Lives Matter, married to a black man.
well,
Just
you really have to
ironic.
ask yourself what's going on when, for example, like what you mentioned earlier about the Proud Boys, the founder, his wife, the leader of the Proud Boys has a black wife, and it's like, at what point do you make sense of this? I'm just,
Yeah, I'll never understand that.
it's a whole another level of mental illness going on over here.
Talk about an identity crisis.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, what is it that,
Self-promoting.
how can, well, man, I don't even need to ask that. I was gonna say, how can she see? How can she not? But I mean, we don't know her background, so what are you gonna do? She could just be one of those people that she doesn't care, and her man loves her. But here's the thing about this, though. This is where the white supremacy ideology always runs aground for me. If we go all the way back to slavery, and we think about the amount of children born to slave women by masters, by white men, and the fact that so many white men loved black women so much, today, from then till now, we still have white men who will gladly take a black woman, but will call a black man a nigger in a minute. The psychology behind that, for me, is it blows me away. I'm at a loss for words on that, y'all. I don't even know what to say. I'm just yeah. Anyway, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all very much for participating in today's show. You have made this a pleasure. You've made it fun. This is a first on the Black Factor, and we're trying new things. And you all have made it great. I loved your participation, and I want to thank everybody very much for participating. So you all have yourselves a wonderful evening, and we must do this again.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic.
Peace
Yeah.
and chicken grease.
There you go. Love, peace, and chicken grease. But we ain't ready for the chicken grease just yet. We're going to get to that in
Okay.
a minute. All right. Hey, look, y'all have yourselves a wonderful evening. Thank you for coming in, and we're going to get on down, y'all.
All righty.
Right.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thanks, Brian.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to close the show by simply saying that we are in a very unusual time in America. I want you all to take the time out to care about one another, take care of one another, make sure that, for example, that thing that I read earlier, that you're all able to watch your backs, because we don't know what's coming next. We don't know what's next. We didn't expect this to be what it was already, but here we are. So when it comes to us as a people here on the Black Factor, we have to always not only think about what's taking place in our world, in our politics, in our political systems, in our way of living, but we not only have to think about that, we have to also think about the fact of doing that while being black. Because we all know that there are two worlds, two systems, and two ways that things get done. And we need to know how to circumvent and navigate through all of that. That allows us actually sometimes a perspective unlike anyone else, and it often gives us an advantage because we have to see things from a different side of the fence. Some people have said that the things that are taking place right now are not our problem. I disagree. I think that they are our problem. It's just that the problem that we have with them are slightly different than our Caucasian counterparts. So what we have to do is understand our position in all of this and know how to navigate through it. And hopefully, with the help of shows like The Black Factor, I can at least offer you perspective that will give you the ability to see some things from a side of the game that they're not showing you. And if I can do that, then I've done my job. And I want to tell everybody I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out with me. It's been a great show. I want to remind everybody to make sure you share the live. Make sure that you hit your subscribe button so that when the show comes on, you'll know. Make sure that you check me out. If you don't want to be on Facebook, at YouTube, Twitch, you can check us out on Twitter now, because Periscope just shifted over to Twitter. So we're now be broadcasting on Twitter. Also, don't forget that you can check out the podcast. You can get me on Amazon. You can get me on Spotify and a few other of the podcast platforms. You can download it. So just, let's cover up, y'all. We hit a record yesterday, 4,300, and I believe it was 87 souls lost to COVID in one day. One day. Almost 5,000 people dead in one day for something that could have been prevented. This is yet another reason why Donald Trump is not worthy nor qualified to have been in the position that he has for the last 4 years. We are no better for it, despite some people who would prefer to continue to lie to themselves and to be lied to and make that their gospel simply because he's a white rich male. It's unfortunate, but this is where we are. So ladies and gentlemen, have yourselves a wonderful evening. I'll be back on Friday, 7 o'clock. Please come join me. Don't forget to get your copy of The Black Factor at bmforbes.com. Boys and girls, we out. Love, peace, and chicken grease, y'all.